everybody, and welcome to the Broward Center's Broadway Chat Series. My name is Tammy Holder, and I'm the artist in residence at the Broward Center, and we are thrilled that you are with us tonight. Joining me this evening is the fabulous...
Hi, I'm Tim Maines. Welcome, everybody.
All right, so last week, Tim, tell us, remind us who we had. We had an amazing guest last week.
Yes, last week we were joined by the incredible Cindy Winters from shows like Hamilton, The Lion King. We had a really interesting chat with her. She even performed for us. So if you missed that live, be sure to check out our Facebook page. We saved the video there. You can check out that episode. And we have another exciting chat tonight. Who do we have with us tonight, Tammy?
So I'm very excited tonight. We have someone that is part of the Broward Center family in a way. We're going to talk about it a little more when he joins us, but he's currently was in the Broadway Tony Award-winning play Harry Potter and the Cursed Child. So we're so excited to talk to him about that and a lot of other things. So please give some big Broward Center welcome to the fabulous Alex Weisman.
Woo-hoo!
Hi, Alex.
Hello. Good to see you guys. I'm doing great.
Well, welcome. Welcome to the Broward Center in our Broadway Chat Series. We're thrilled to have you join us. I'm just going to go ahead and tell, we have been hearing about your career for a long time because we have the amazing privilege to work with your mom, Betsy, and she is such a huge fan, obviously. So I reached out to her and I was like, do you think Alex would chat with us this week? And she was like, of course. So extra special welcome home. So
thank you. Yeah, I feel like I grew up at the Broward Center. My mom started working there, I believe, in the year 2000. It was like the weekend we had, like my friend had her bat mitzvah in the Abdo New River room.
Oh, wow.
And then like my mom started working there. But I mean, I remember going to the Broward Center since I was a little kid. All
right.
Kid.
Well, that's so good. Well, I'm so glad that you're joining us. Now, where are you in Florida right now? Where are you right now?
No, I'm in Manhattan.
All right. You're in Manhattan. So,
I'm in Manhattan, yeah.
Well, how's it been going? Tell us a little bit now. You tell us about your journey right now with the Harry Potter and the Cursed Child. You're still in it, or tell us what happened right before Broadway closed down back in March.
Yeah, so Broadway shut down we got the news on Thursday the 11th, March 11th, and my last performance was going to be Sunday, March 15th.
Oh, wow.
The Ides of March.
Oh, wow.
But instead, I moved out of my dressing room on Friday the 13th.
Oh, my gosh.
So I'd been doing the show for about 2.5 years, over 800 performances, and then I missed the last 4.
The last 4. Oh, that's so crazy. Well, tell us about that. Now, you are part of the original cast and company of the Broadway production, yes?
Yeah.
So tell us about your journey with that show, and then just give us a little background on the show, the story, and just let's hear all about your experience with that production.
Yeah, so I was living in Chicago and was an actor in Chicago, and I had picked up the Harry Potter books on Inauguration Day, just as like something to do, a little distraction. And I read them in like 5 weeks, and I finished it on Saturday, and I read this play, Harry Potter and the Cursed Child, that had been published on Sunday. And on Monday, I got an email from my agent that was like, would you be willing to fly to New York to be seen for this play, Harry Potter and the Cursed Child? I said, I just read that play. And I was going to be in New York visiting my sister who lived there anyway that week. So I was like, funny enough, I'll already be there. So I went in for what was basically like a cattle call pre-screen with a casting director. And then 7 auditions later and 5 weeks later, I was meeting John Tiffany and Sonia Friedman, and my final callback was on Wednesday, and Friday morning I found out I was going to be moving to New York to make my Broadway debut in Harry Potter the Cursed Child.
Wow.
And the show had just the day after the offers for my offer came out, the Oliviers were in London, where Harry Potter, where the original West End production was nominated and won a record-breaking, I think like 9 Oliviers. It broke the record. It still holds the record for the most Oliviers ever won. And then we opened it on Broadway a year later. It was like almost exactly a year from final audition to opening night.
Oh, wow. That's amazing. So for those of us who are watching who aren't familiar with the play, tell us where it all fits in chronologically with the books and who you were in the play.
Sure. So the play is the 8th story, 19 years later.
Okay.
So the epilogue of Deathly Hallows, where Harry, Ron, Hermione, and Ginny are sending their kids off on the Hogwarts Express, word for word, that epilogue is the first scene of our play.
Oh, cool. Okay.
And then it just sort of takes off from there, and we meet Harry's son Albus and Draco Malfoy's son Scorpius, and they are students at Hogwarts, just like Harry and Draco were students at Hogwarts, and they go on adventures just like their parents did. And I don't want to say too much about the plot, because I think that really if you go in not knowing too much about what exactly happens, it's even better. It's even more special. But that's sort of the basic premise. And it's a big cast. There's about 40 of us, a lot of different roles that we all play. And I got to understudy Scorpius, Anthony Boyle, who won the Olivier, and then was nominated for a Tony.
Oh, that's amazing. Now, were you able to go on? Were you going on a lot for that role before?
Yeah, I did it about 40 times in 2 years.
Wow.
So 80 shows. Because our play is 2 plays.
My next question.
Yeah.
This is a little different structure. Talk to us about how one experiences this play.
Yeah, so it's Harry Potter and the Cursed Child, parts 1 and 2. And we did part 1 on Wednesday matinees, Thursday nights, Saturday matinees, and Sunday matinees. And then part 2 would be Wednesday night, Friday night, Saturday night, Sunday night. So it'd be 3 marathon days and then a Thursday, Friday split up, which was really nice because we got 2 days off every week. But it was 2 plays. And it's a lot of material.
And I know when I saw it Wednesday matinee, Wednesday night part 2. So I had this whole expansive journey. As an actor, though, you didn't always perform it in chronological order, right? So
we always performed it in chronological order.
Okay, but it was split.
Always, yeah. But it was just on Thursdays and Fridays where we would sort of split it up. Which those always sort of felt weird, because it's sort of like doing it feels like Act 1 and Act 2 with a long intermission on those marathon days.
Yeah.
Because it really is one story and one journey, and with a great cliffhanger at the end of part 1. Mm-hmm. And so to sort of like those Friday nights where you're like walking around Manhattan, drinking your coffee, doing your thing, and then you're jumping into the middle of the story, those were the hardest nights. Mm-hmm. But we sort of loved the all-day marathon. That's, as an actor, sort of just like being inside of it and not really having to take that break.
And the ensemble in the show was really unique, I thought. Can you speak a little bit about all the different roles? You said people played lots of different roles. Can you talk a little bit more about the function of the ensemble?
Yeah. So Stephen Hoggett did the choreography, and it is a play, and a lot of people think it's a musical, but it's a play with a lot of dancing and a lot of movement. And I'm not allowed to get into too many specifics, but there's like a student ensemble, all the students of Hogwarts, and we've got wands and we've got capes, and we use them to great theatrical effect. And there's one of the tracks that I covered, because I covered 7 different tracks in the show, as well as doing my own, just running. It was like running for 5.5 hours, backstage, on stage. It was crazy. It was it's a really, really physical show. And I think that it's like the essence of theater. It's like the essence of what you can do only in theater with storytelling. And I think that's why the show is so successful, because it would have been really easy for them to just like rely on the Harry Potter brand and not try very hard to make a great piece of art. But it is this amazing piece of storytelling and theater. It's theater. And, I think people talk about, oh, when is the Cursed Child movie coming out? And it's like, well, I don't think it would be as successful because, it would be very successful. But I don't know if the artistic, the story is, I think, built to be told on stage.
That's so neat. Now, who penned this play? Was this J.K. Rowling, or was this who actually wrote the play?
Jack Thorne wrote the play, but the story of it was put together by Jack and J.K. Rowling and John Tiffany, our director.
That's amazing. That's so cool. Well, we could sit and talk Harry Potter all night, but I know that's just a small piece, the most recent piece of your amazing career. So you said that I found out I was moving to Broadway. So this was your Broadway debut and your move to New York. Now tell us a little bit about your work in Chicago, because you're a Northwestern graduate, yeah?
Yeah, I went to Northwestern, grew up in Fort Lauderdale, and then bumped to the Midwest for something completely different. And I started working professionally in Chicago my junior year of college. I got cast in the Chicago premiere of The History Boys, which was supposed to be this quick 2-month run. And then the show ended up being this huge, huge hit. And we ended up running for about 7 months in Chicago. And it won a bunch of awards, and I won an award, and it sort of like launched a lot of our careers. We've got Behzad Dabu, who's in How to Get Away with Murder, was in that show with me.
Okay.
We've got it's just an amazing group of young Chicago actors who've sort of all gone on and dispersed into the world.
That's so neat. So I have a question this is one of our colleagues at the Broward Center, Shelley Bradshaw. She wants to know, what show are you the most proud of?
That is a great question. I've got 2 answers. God, that's a really difficult question, because I'm proud of everything I've done. Mm-hmm. Because if you can't find something in it that you think, at the end of this, I'm going to be proud that I did this, then why do it?
Right. So
I think that everything that I work on, I know afterwards I'll be like, I'm proud of that. Hand to God, I got to do the Chicago premiere of Hand to God. And I'm really proud of that show because it was really hard. And it was a really special collaboration with the director, Gary Griffin. And it's sort of a show about a boy who's maybe possessed by a demonic puppet.
Oh, wow. Right.
And I did a lot of scenes with just me and my hand, just sort of talking to each other. Mm-hmm. And it was really hard. And it was really, to me, a story of mental health and the power of having a way to communicate with the people that you love, and what happens when you don't have a way to communicate, or if you are too scared to, or the sort of the ways that we can eat ourselves when we don't take care of ourselves. Right. Which I think in this, where we all are right now in the, global pandemic and the state of the nation, it's important that we're our mental health, that we're taking care of ourselves and communicating with our loved ones. And then another show that I'm really proud of is a play that no one liked, but I loved. It was called The Good Book, and it was an original play that was an autobiographic play of Dennis O'Hare, who's an actor from, he really hit it big with the American Horror Story, and he won a Tony for Take Me Out. But this was his story. Half of it was his story about wanting more than anything to be a Catholic priest, but also struggling with his queerness.
Okay.
And it was like a series of monologues with, using his words. And it was interspersed with the history of the Bible and the writing, the actual physical writing of the Bible and the translating of the Bible and how it gets from one language to another and one location to another. And it was really messy and really complicated and was a first draft, but it is a play that I am so proud of being a part of.
Right.
And so, working with Dennis and Lisa Peterson, who's the director, it was a really special experience for me, and I'm really proud of it, even though no one liked it.
I have another question from the audience. Perhaps you know this lady.
Hi, Mom.
This is a great question. So talk to us about the difference between doing theater in Chicago versus theater in New York.
Yeah, well, I mean, I've only done one piece of theater in New York. So my experience is really specific to Harry Potter and mega corporate commercial theater.
Got it.
In Chicago, in 9 years, I did, 29, 30 shows. I never stopped working because there's a lot of work to be done and no one's making any money. So no one cares about how much money is being made. So you take, and from what I've gathered from my friends here, there's theater like that in New York that I just haven't had the time to work on yet. But in Chicago, it's very much an ensemble atmosphere where, collaboration is key and you're working with the same people over and over again. So you just have to, you have to do good work and you have to be kind. And both of those things hold the same weight. Right. And you walk into a rehearsal room, and you have to take care of yourself enough to be able to do good work and be as honest and as free as you can and take care of everyone else around you, because you are collaborating with people who you're going to work with over and over again. And I remember my early years in Chicago, it was sort of like working with people and being like, I meet someone and be like, oh, you and I speak the same language. We're going to work together for the rest of our lives. Mm-hmm. And Harry Potter is a very Chicago play in terms of its use of the ensemble and its use of physical theater. And John and Stephen are British, and I think British theater and Chicago theater have a lot in common in terms of the way that they use ensemble and the way that they use bodies and space. Mm-hmm. And so my introduction to New York theater, being this West End transfer that felt very Chicago, felt right for me. Like it was that was the way it was meant to be, because I was in Chicago a long time and was doing a lot of great work, and people would be like, well, why aren't you moving to New York? I'm like, well, because I love Chicago. I love this work. And if I'm going to move to New York, I'll book a show and move to New York. And then that's what happened.
There you go.
We actually have another audience question that I think can expand this conversation to other types of work that you have done. So Richard is wondering, how was your experience on Chicago Fire? So we would love to hear some more about your TV work, and how do you like the on-camera experience compared to acting on stage?
I loved Chicago Fire. I love it. Chicago Fire and Chicago Med. It was such a great first television experience. I auditioned for this guy Clout, this role, who was this annoying paramedic, and it was just supposed to be one episode, and it's a very serious, earnest show. And with this character, I had a little bit of freedom to just have a little fun. And people really responded to it, and then they just kept writing me in, and I ended up I was there for 5 years doing that show.
Wow.
About 22 episodes over 5 years in the whole Chicago universe. And I loved all the cast members were so nice. It was like all the sort of horror stories you hear about LA. All of these people were so happy to be not in LA and have steady work with an LA paycheck, but in a different city. Everyone was so happy to be there. Everyone was so warm. And I learned so much. There was a real paramedic and a real fireman on set at all times. They really take pains to make sure everything is authentic as possible. And I loved working with those people. Joe Chappelle, who directed my first episode and was the showrunner for a long time, he wrote a feature a few summers ago and wrote me a role in it, and I got to do it. This movie called An Acceptable Loss. It's, I think, now streaming on Showtime, but it felt very similar to Chicago theater in terms of the people and the sense of collaboration and just like leading with kindness. And it was an amazing, amazing atmosphere. In terms of the difference between stage and film, I am very hard on myself. I'm a very neurotic Jewish boy. And so when you are doing a play, when I'm doing a play, you go out there every night, you do the best you can, and it's never good enough. And you go home and you think about all the things you can do better tomorrow and all the things you can do better tomorrow, and then the show closes. On film, when I did my first major film work in Chicago, you do that take after take. You're like, I could do it better, I could do it better. And then they say, okay, we're moving on. And you're like, what? I could do better. And they're like, no, we got it. And you realize that the work that an audience member sees on the screen is so much more, your performance involves so many more people than you when you're doing on-camera work. It's the editor, it's the DP, it's this, it's that you're like, okay, this is not just about me, because actors can be very selfish, as we all are. And then no amount of moaning or complaining or neuroticism about how I felt about my performance was going to get them to reset up that shot.
The whole thing, right? So
I just you got to move on. I can live in the neurosis for 4 hours, but at the end of the 4 hours, you're done. Moving on, cut, print, moving on. And it's easier to live in 4 hours of neuroses than 4 months of neuroses. So I found film work to be a little easier, to be kinder to myself.
Love it. Well, tell us so you are born and bred South Florida. Tell us a little bit about how you got your start in theater and some of the things that you did in South Florida that led you to where you are now.
Yeah. I was an indoor boy, which is not easy to be when you're living in the hot South Florida sun. And I was born with congenital heart disease, and by the time I was 7, I'd had 2 open heart surgeries. And my older sister, Robin, was a movie star, and she had done a big movie, 3 Men and a Little Lady in Hollywood, and she hated being famous, and so she came back to South Florida and just wanted to do like a theater day camp. And she went to the University Center for the Performing Arts, UCPA, out in Davie. And I saw her, she was so nervous that she got cast in the role of like a troll under a bridge. And she was so scared, sort of, I think, by her experience in Hollywood, that she asked them if her best friend could be like a 2-headed troll with her. Okay. And I just remember very vividly, I think it was Jack and the Beanstalk. Robin will have to confirm or deny this. But I remember being probably 4 and watching her do that and being like, I am obsessed with this. And so 5 years later, when it came time for me to go to summer camp, and the only other summer camps I knew about were like half a day on the soccer field and half a day in the swimming pool, which sounded like my, 7th ring of hell. I was like, why can I go to that camp where Robin was the troll? And so I went there and I loved it. And then from that, I started doing some community theater in South Florida, and then eventually working with some of the equity houses down in Miami, until I was about 15. And I did this production of Madame Melville at New Theater with Raphael Dacha. Shout out to anyone who was in South Florida 16, 17 years ago. And I missed being a part of one of the shows at school, and I felt a lot of FOMO. And so I was like, I think I'm going to stop doing this and do the plays with my friends.
Mm-hmm.
And then I just did it in high school and was going to go to Duke and be a lawyer. And then when I was 17, I had my third open heart surgery. And that's very traumatizing and formative experience.
Mm-hmm.
And I sort of like woke up from that and was like, maybe I should just like do what I like instead. And after that, I was like on track to be valedictorian, and then I was like, I don't really care about this anymore. And then so I applied to theater school, and I went to Northwestern.
The rest is history. That's amazing.
Yeah.
So, Alex, I can't believe this. We're almost out of time. But before we go, Tim and I both work in the education department at the Broward Center, and we are actually currently in an intensive with some kids this week. So what would be some advice that you would offer students who are dreaming to do what you do?
Great. I'm going to answer that in two ways. I'm going to do like the pandemic version of that question, and then the non-pandemic version of that question.
Okay, I love it.
So the pandemic version of that question, which people have asked me this for a few times, talks like this that I've done, is you really have to be gentle with yourself right now.
Mm-hmm.
What we're going through right now is really hard. And it is okay if you're having a hard time. I'm having a hard time, and I find my creative button is broken. Like it won't turn on. I can't create something. I can't write anything. I can't do my work.
Okay.
And that's okay right now. So I just want to give anyone who's listening, who's having a hard time, permission to have a hard time. This is hard. And however you're feeling about it is okay. The non-pandemic version of that is I'll say yes. I think the biggest advice I give people is say yes. And what that means is in a rehearsal room, if someone's giving you a direction and you're like, it doesn't make sense to me, just say yes, do it, and then talk about it.
Mm.
Be like, this didn't work because XYZ when I tried it. Or, oh, God, you were right. I just had to get out of my own way. But if you try to figure it out before you do it, you're going to trip yourself up. So I think just lead with yes. Also in improv, say yes. Yes and. If so, rather than saying no, say yes, because that is how you collaborate. You say yes to the person, the most important person in the entire process is your scene partner, whoever that is.
Mm-hmm.
So say yes to them. And then, and this is what I always would tell people who are starting out in Chicago, say yes. If you have an opportunity to do something, say yes. If it's an unpaid production of Noel Coward in a church, say yes. Mm-hmm. Just do it. Do it because you don't know who you're going to meet.
Right.
And it's not about like who could come see me. I think when you're starting out, we're so obsessed with who's going to see me and discover me. And I would just say, don't get discovered until you've discovered yourself.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Like you got to be in a really safe rehearsal room doing something that no one's going to see so you can learn who you are as an artist and how you work and what matters to you. And if you're good, you can't let someone else tell you what that is, because then everything you do will be leading from someone else's truth and not your own.
Wow.
And the better that you discover who you are, you'll put it into your work. Your work will be good. And then the last piece of advice I have is read. Read. We're standing in front of one of my 4 bookshelves. I'm a huge bibliophile. And I had a teacher who told me that the best sort of practice for an actor is to read a first-person narrative novel. It's the most inside a character's head you'll ever get. And, being an actor can be a sort of myopic work. And if you read, you're going to just travel to different places and learn about different eras and meet different people that you'll never meet in your real life, because all you're going to meet being an actor is people in waiting rooms, people in rehearsal rooms, and people at your day job. And it can feel like a very small world very quickly. So the more you read authors from all around the world, people not like you, people like you, you'll just meet a lot of crazy people that might one day teach you something about yourself or teach you something about something you're going to do, a play or a film that you're going to work on.
Right.
It's just about exposure.
Absolutely.
That was a lot of answers to one question.
That was great advice. I was sitting here going, yes, tell me more. Alex, thank you so much for stopping by the Broward Center and having a chat with us tonight. I've enjoyed hearing about all your adventures through your mom, but it's been such a joy and privilege to just get to chat with you and to learn more about your career and your adventures. So thank you so much for being with us tonight.
Thanks. It's an honor. It's an honor to be here. I love the Broward Center. Anyone out there who's like a young kid sitting in that Aurene Theater, that was me. And you can be here one day, whatever that means right now. But when Broadway's back, anything's possible.
I love it. Well, best wishes and best of luck to you on all your adventures. And I hope to get to meet you in person one day.
Yes, one day. One day we'll travel again.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you guys.
Thanks, Alex.